Today's podcast is brought to you by Fashionably Dating Makara. Fashionably Dating Makara is a podcast that's turning the personal styling experience into an accessible luxury. Hosted by Makara Reed. Log on to fashionablydatingmakara.com to be her next podcast personal client. The podcast premieres June 2019 each and every Friday. Check out Makara at fashionablydatingmakara.com. That's MIKARA for details. You don't want to miss out.
Welcome to the Oh Hell No podcast, where Kay Nicole delivers a daily dose of inspiration by discussing passion, purpose, and struggle with people who are living their best life, doing what they love. Here's Nicole.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Oh Hell No podcast. Today I have Rebecca Hamilton. She is an entrepreneur. Today we're going to talk about the law of attraction and how it changed her life and what she's doing to help others change their lives using the law of attraction. So welcome, Rebecca. Thank you for being here.
Hey, yes, no, totally. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So the law of attraction, in the New Thought philosophy, the law of attraction is the belief that positive or negative thoughts bring positive or negative experiences into a person's life. So I just want to put that definition out there for some people who may not know what the law of attraction means. So I want to start talking a little bit about you, how you got into the law of attraction, and then we can get into how it changed your life and what you're doing with it and how you're changing other people's lives. So first, what did you think that you were going to do with your life as you were growing up and running around as a young girl, having a good time? What did you think would be the thing that you would do with your life?
To be very honest with you, the way that I grew up, I just took and, started out and took a very hard road in terms of what I was doing. I was a hot mess for many, many years. And to be honest with you, I think my problem was short vision. I didn't have long-term goals or vision. I wasn't thinking about that. If people were talking to me about it, I couldn't hear it. And so for me, I was not even at one point in my life, I thought, I'd like to be a lawyer. And then I was like, just kidding. I'm not going to do all that school. So that was like the extent of me, thinking about what I was going to do when I got older.
So I like that because I like when I talk to people who really had no idea and were kind of all over the place because, it just shows that everybody's life has a purpose and eventually it comes together if you allow it to. Mm-hmm. So when did you start doing something constructive with your life and what was it?
So as a teenager, I started at least on the path of wanting to know more. So, coming from alcoholism and different traumatic situations, I'm very, very sensitive. And so I had to find a way to start coping with those feelings. I had to, I don't know why. I guess we just weren't into mental health as much back then. And so, I was trying to figure out ways to cope myself. So I started out going to things like Al-Anon. And that was my first step. It was like, okay, well, here's something that can help you. And it did help me. It did help me get my mind around it. And I think for everybody, it's an evolution. People go, I want to get into this, law of attraction. It's like, well, you might need to start somewhere else. You might not be there yet. But for me, it was Al-Anon. Then I started listening to, Wayne Dyer. And then one day my mom, or Deepak Chopra, Debbie Ford, these old school people who were talking good stuff back then. And it gave me a little bit of relief. It didn't necessarily give me what I felt like was a whole lot of power over my life. So I really felt like life was living me. Like by the time I was sitting in that parking lot, listening to the very first cassette tape, just to age me real quick, of Abraham Hicks' Law of Attraction. This is when they first came out, it's the early 90s. Early 90s, maybe like even 89. So it was pretty early on. And it just crying, thinking like, if this could be true, like it has to work. Like I have to figure it out. Like if it could be true that I have control over how my existence goes on this planet, then okay, I haven't done it for the last 19 years, but right now I have to start figuring that out. So that was kind of when the light bulb went off, was when I heard that. It resonated with me on a level that I can't explain.
So going back to something you said you tried Al-Anon. What is that?
So Al-Anon is like the sister piece to Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so that's a place where, I didn't know anything else. I didn't, I didn't grow up, I have lots of preachers and different people in my family, but, we were on and off with church. I always had a strong faith, but it wasn't necessarily from church, oddly. It would be like, or it wouldn't be because I was going every week or anything like that. It was because I would hear a thing, implement, and go and find stuff to hold on to. But, so Al-Anon was like, it kind of became that for me. So I would go every week to that.
Okay, cool. So after you heard this law of attraction and you've decided, like, I'm going to try to apply this to my life, tell us about the first time you actually tried to apply it and how it worked for you.
So, well, I think there were a lot of small times that I applied it. Like you hear people talk about, well, envision the parking space. Oh, I got VIP parking. It's like, okay. I found $20. Oh, that's great. But when I really needed to apply it, and here's the thing, and I really want to make this distinction because I think people have the law of attraction a little bit wrong, or some people do, because they think it's about the things and manifesting the things. And it's like, okay, did you sit down and did you like really go, this is what I'm going to get, and then it showed up? And of course, in some situations, that is what happens. But the very first manifestation is the feeling. That it's something that's left out a lot because people are looking for the thing, but the very first manifestation is actually the feeling. And then that feeling, if you allow it to, and you allow the thoughts to keep coming with it, that feeling will start to create momentum. And that momentum is what creates, not necessarily the thing that you think you want, but it creates the thing that is in line with that feeling and your thoughts and beliefs. So anyway, I'm a little bit off. Didn't answer your question. So my first thing that I created was when when I was pregnant with my son, I needed a job, and we needed it to have, benefits and all of that, because we didn't have benefits at that time. So I ended up like literally in the craziest fashion, going from having nothing, like no job, because where I was working was under the table. It was crazy situation. And so I went from that to being on having a full-time job, having maternity leave. I actually got in as a temp, and they were going to do a 90-day, and I'm like, man, I'm going to be showing by 90 days. There's no way. And I ended up getting hired on like in 30 days. Like, it went faster than it was. And I ended up having the maternity leave. So we were, covered for that, and the insurance that we wanted, because I didn't want to go to the hospital. Like, here, the one hospital that you go to if you don't have insurance, it's just, I didn't like it. So I was like, I don't want to go to that hospital. I want to pick the hospital I want to go to. And so I got to do that. And that really came from doing the work. It really did show up. Because what was crazy is I envisioned that place specifically. So that is a time when I can say I got exactly what I asked for, like in mentally what I was envisioning, the smells, the feel of it, everything. So you can do it that way. So that was when I was 25. So I found it at 19, kicked around a little bit, you ebb, you flow, you apply a little bit, you don't. But then once I was, 25.
So when you put yourself in the space to kind of manifest these things, is it something that happens over a period of time? Are there certain things that you have to do to manifest this? Is there any science behind it, or is it purely just energy, thoughts, and divine intervention? How would you explain it to someone who's trying to figure out how to position themselves like that?
Right. So, okay. So first of all, there's lots of science behind it, because it's very, 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 it's very well documented that we are energetic beings, that our whole world is energetic, and it's a matter of how fast the energy is moving as to what you can see and what you can't, right? So the table sitting right there is actually energy. It's just moving at, I believe it's such a slow pace that it becomes more solid for us. But everything is energy. So the science behind the law of attraction is very real. And I feel like the law of attraction has gotten a really bad name because it's been, when The Secret came out, and I'm not hating on The Secret or anything, but I feel like it was very superficial. And I think the law of attraction is so much more than the things that you get. And so, when it comes to manifesting, again, it is about the feeling, because what we tend to do as humans before we know is we're pushing for the things. We're taught, go and get the things, get the person, get the mate, get the house, get the thing. If you have the thing, it means you're successful. So go and get another thing. Oh, you got that thing. Well, go and get the next thing. And it's like we are continually in that hamster wheel looking for the next thing to make us happy, to get that next fix, when in reality, you don't need that next fix. If you do the work inside, the next fix will come to you before you've got to go chase it. So it's like, because like attracts like, that is like, and unto itself will be attracted. So it's an energy thing. So there's people out there who are going, yeah, but I really want to manifest this money. And, but they're in a lack energy about it. They're in a lack mentality. Just the way that they feel when they're talking about it is full of lack. So you cannot attract something just because you want it. You attract something because you be it, because you embody that. So for me, and it's a process that, I give away for free, is a process that I use to really up my energy, which I call it the energetic hustle. But, you can do it in a lot of different ways. Meditation will help you raise your energy for that time. But really where it all comes down to, it's not just positive or negative thoughts. It's what is your belief? What's the entire recipe of your being? What does that energy look like? Because because we're attracting all day, every day. What you currently see in front of you, Nicole, is what you're attracting all day, every day. Like, you can't turn it off. You could be like, I don't believe. But at the end of the day, energy attracts energy. I mean, it is what it is. So we are all attracting at exactly where we are. If you want to level that up, you've got to start activating those other feeling places in order to get things in those feeling places. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes total sense. It really does.
Yeah.
So how did you use what you've learned just through your own personal study and trials and tribulations? How did you turn that into a business?
So I didn't turn it into a business for a long time. I just used it for myself, and I used it to create, a life that I wanted. And so for me, when my husband, and I think we talked about this, but when my husband went to prison, he was accused, and wrongly accused, of a crime, and ended up going to prison for a natural life sentence, and which means you don't get out.
Wow.
Well, which means if that sentence, if you never can do anything about it, you would never get out.
Right.
But for me, it was like, okay, so that was when the rubber hit the road. That was really when it was like, okay, I got to make a decision. Am I going to be a victim to this, or am I going to create the life I want? And are we going to figure out how the heck to get him out of there? Because we don't play the victim role in him going there. So it's like, how do we make this work? And, raising energy doesn't happen overnight. If it does, you most likely don't want it, because it's going to be harder to maintain, right? You want energy that you've been working on to maintain, to get to that place so that you're not having to work like crazy. Anyway, but so when I, figured that out, I decided, you know what, I want to get into real estate. Through a pretty, not a great situation, I ended up in real estate. I always wanted to homeschool our son, and that just happened to work out. It was like, okay, well, I'm going to write $1 million. Once I do, I'm going to take him out. He was in first grade. I decided I'm going to take him out. Everybody around me is going, are you nuts? Like, you have no other income. You have no second job. You're going to work on commission only as a realtor and try to support yourself. Like, we were living on our own, we had our own place and all that. And so even getting into real estate, they said that. Then when I started to homeschool them, they said that. And so I went through that, and I really just had to keep my energy tight for all of those years because I never had a side gig, and I did support us just on that while also still being able to be a mom, being, involved in his stuff, all of that. So when I sent him off to school, I thought, I'm going to take law of attraction and I'm going to do some, things that I've really been waiting to do, because really being a mom was first. Not that you couldn't do it both, y'all. That's my beliefs that you're hearing. You could do whatever you want. But so I did, and I ended up, having a 6-figure year. I, was winning awards at my company. I built my first course on law of attraction. No, I didn't. I built my first course on how I ended up doing a video using strictly law of attraction and writing and closing like $5 million of real estate business off of it, which is like unheard of, with no promotion, no nothing. But I knew something that a lot of people don't know, is that you can use your energy. And if you do the pre-work, if you pre-pave, the things that you want, you're going to be way more effective. And so that's how I turned it into a business, is that I have proven, not only have I listened to thousands and thousands of hours of just straight law of attraction, but also, so well read and all the other stuff. I just have a really good handle on it, but I've applied it and been able to show, hey, here's like, these are real results. These aren't, go and find me some realtors who would be able to, that aren't, that are not practicing anything like that, that'd be able to, do that, support themselves with nothing and live the life. And the reason why is because I was able to work that energy around. Because remember, when you don't have anybody supporting you and you don't have anybody helping you, as a woman, we're told that's not really something we can do. We're told that growing up. I mean, so to actually do it is like, oh, okay. There's a lot of fear you have to kind of conquer. So I was able to turn that into a program. My first program was about my Facebook video where I made the money. I, sold that out. But then my Align program was for realtors, was the first program that I used, where I took law of attraction and just applied it to real estate, as I had for all those years. And then I used it to basically sell out my first course in that too.
Wow. Okay. So you went from real estate into developing a program for law of attraction, teaching people how to use law of attraction to kind of, get the things that they want in their lives. And not just material things, people. It's a lot deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say to someone from a very basic standpoint, like somebody who's just, they've never read anything about law of attraction, they've never, listened to anything, but they want to start getting into it? What's the best basic way to introduce themselves to law of attraction and start getting into the practice?
Are we talking about information or a basic thing that they can do?
Like if a basic thing they can do.
So a basic thing they can do is, you could start to meditate. For me, one of the things that I think is the very first and most basic thing that everybody should do is get into observer mode. Start paying attention, because there's the me that's talking, and then there's the me that's kind of hearing me talk, right? Step back, get present, because you can't do any work on yourself before you do that. It doesn't matter what you want to do. You can't do work on yourself if you're not present and aware. So the very first thing that I would tell you to do is start paying attention to, okay, how is my life and what am I saying about it? What am I thinking about it? What's coming out of my mouth all day, every day about it? That would be the very first thing, because when you can start getting, let me tell you, clarity is worth money. Clarity is worth gold. Like, if you can start getting clear about where you are, You have to know that. And I think that's one of the things that's failing people when they're trying to implement law of attraction. They're not taking into account where they are. They're just going, well, I'm going to talk about the Lamborghini. I'm going to talk about the house I want. I'm going to talk about the job. But it's like, you have to know, just like a map, you can't pop in MapQuest and not tell it where you are. It's got to know where you are to calculate where you need to go. So, and how far you have to go. So you have to start looking at that and figuring out, okay, where am I? And being very honest, having a very honest assessment. To me, that's the very first thing that you would do in law of attraction.
Yeah. And like I said before, it's law of attraction is not about, like you just said, oh, I want a car, or I want,
right,
money, or, it's not that. So if that's what you're looking for, you're listening to the wrong episode. Like, that's not it.
Well, and here's the thing, you will get that. Because
right,
you're going to get the things that are in that energetic frequency. But when you do it for that, you're basically telling the universe, hey, universe, I don't have this. Bring it to me. And the universe is going, oh, okay, you don't have it? Okay, you don't have it? Okay, you don't have it? Because it's looking at where you are, not where you want to go. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be it. And that's the whole point of sort of activating those, even if you could just start feeling around in your chest area when you meditate for 10 minutes and try to activate your heart center, right? Which is obvious. Where it is very self-descriptive. It's your heart center. Start activating that. That's going to include you activating the emotion of love or of joy. Like, all of those emotions kind of hang out there. When you start to activate that, you're going to start seeing differences. Like, when you can consistently do that, because the universe is going to start bringing you things that match that. So, like, I didn't have to say, hey, universe, I want to have a 6-figure year. Hey, universe, I want to sell out my course. I just had to get in those feeling places, and the universe knows what to do.
Right. Yeah. I feel like, again, like for me, I'm thinking it's deeper, because some people are just so shallow and surface, and they just want certain things for all the wrong reasons. But of course, if you're doing the work and you love what you're doing and there's a greater purpose, then those things will follow, So I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, when you started your business, even in real estate, because I always like to talk about struggle, because I feel like a lot of times people don't talk about struggle. They just talk about all the good stuff, especially with the internet and, Instagram, and, we're all living our best lives, and
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So just share with us a little bit of your struggle with kicking off your online course or building your course, or is there anything that you learned that you can share with someone who might be interested in doing the same thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, what I learned is, my online course, and I love this question because I love the idea of just knowing the journey, because I think the journey is so important. So the online course that I launched last year was actually a course I wanted to launch for the 8 years prior to that. I had started everything, had signed up for everything. I was like, I'm going to do it. And I just couldn't get things to connect. For whatever reason, I couldn't. I know the reason is that energetically, I wasn't up to speed. I didn't believe in my own dream. And so even though I was going through the motions, I just didn't believe. I didn't see the vision. And so that dream, and here's what I know, like, your dreams never die. You never are like, well, I don't want that anymore. You're just like, well, I went on to something else or whatever, something can fill in. But that dream, it has always been a dream of mine to be a speaker, to be an author, to talk to people, to help them understand, especially once I figured it out, to help people understand they're powerful. So back then, I had everything I needed to do it. I mean, I couldn't go crazy. I've always been somebody who is like, I have this real strong belief that we can have what we want from where we are, meaning you don't need money. People go, well, but I need money to do this. It's like, no, you don't. Like, you could go towards it with or without that. But for whatever reason, I couldn't see that. I just couldn't see it. And so the progression was, and then I went in real estate, and, I was still doing real estate, which I still do real estate now, so I was doing real estate. And then it just the vision became more clear because I just started allowing that vision was in line with where I was in life. I was, I was killing it in real estate. I was just in a space where I felt super powerful. And that doesn't just happen all the time. Like you've got to work yourself up to stuff. So if something isn't working out, you could put it to the side for a little while. So I did. And then when I came back to it, I struggled a little bit more because I'm like, man, I don't know, some of the back end technology just really does stress me out. But I was in a place where I was like, all right, well, I'm going to use this credit card and I'm going to pay for these people so then my mantra became, I'm not going to let anything slow me down. And I'm going to tell you a secret. I didn't have my course made when I sold it. My course was not made. I didn't have the whole thing done. I didn't even have a video done. I had done a beta course where I got on live with people. That was it. And none of those videos were used in my course that I actually sold. But when your belief gets strong enough and you realize who you are, who you're actually trying to help, it just changes things. So I definitely lost money, didn't have a vision, had to work myself up to it, just like everybody else is going to have to do for their own visions.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you see these videos on Instagram telling you how easy it is to launch your own course and you're going to make 6 figures from these courses and people are just going to log on right away, it's nonsense. Okay. It takes work. It takes time and nothing happens overnight. But if you believe in it, it will, slowly come together,
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing it out of integrity, and I refuse to work anywhere other than there. So it's like if you're doing it out of integrity and you take the time to do the work is what I call the energetic hustle. It's the energetic side of it. I love hustle. I am such a hustler, like in terms of like work and wanting to learn and wanting to go. And you know what I mean? Like I'm that person. Well, and hustler can have a bad connotation of like con man, but I'm talking about the hustler in terms of just like ready to go, ready to work. But what I figured out is that if I do the pre-work, the real work that happens energetically, one of my steps towards it is more effective than 1,000 steps without that. So to me, it's like if you do that, things will start falling in your lap a little bit more. Things will start just showing up for you a little bit more. So it can be a lot easier than what it is for some folks, but you're always going to have that. You're always going to have that next thing you got to kind of get over, whether it's a belief in yourself, what it always stems back to that, or whether it's like I had a huge issue even after I sold it out. I did my course, I launched it again, and then I had technology issues where I couldn't find somebody who could do what I want them to do, and that slowed down the energy. So, and I had to kind of deal with that and then come back to it. So if you get in line with your vision first, and it's work. And the thing is, it sounds like, well, just sit down and meditate. No, it's work, because the law of attraction is helping you stay where you are. You have to actually use your mental muscles to get past that, to go where you want to go.
Yep, absolutely. So now, do you think if you are on a path that you think is right for you, and you do believe in the law of attraction, do you think that somehow you get rerouted to where you're supposed to be?
Well, I don't think there's a place we're supposed to be. So I personally don't believe in fate. I believe that there is a bit of a roadmap, but it's sort of, I had it explained to me this way. And man, when they said that, I went, oh yeah, that is what it really has been in my life. It's like, all right, you're meant, for instance, if somebody says, well, you're meant to live by the water, it either, energetically you pick, are you going to be a bum by the ocean? Or are you going to be the director of a cruise ship? Like, which one are you going to be? So, I don't think there's anything steering us. I think that really it has more to do with energy than anything else. I don't think there's anything that's so predetermined that you couldn't. And I personally don't think anybody just came here to suffer. You know what I'm saying? Like, suffer is really all found in our focus and the way we choose to use it.
So in the case where your husband got, wrongly accused of something, which a lot of people suffer this fate. What do you think is behind that? Do you think it's just his journey and there is a greater purpose at the end of all of this? Or what are your thoughts behind it? Because being a positive person, the way you live your life, and then dealing with something like that, it's got to be so difficult, to kind of balance the two and make sense of it.
Well, I think two things. Number one, I think that really our sole purpose, I want to say our sole purpose here is expansion, right? To expand our energy, to take our expansion, to become more than what we were when we came. Like, that to me is why I'm here. That to me is why my husband's here and our son is here and all of that. So it's really not difficult, because when you actually decide that you are going to be fully accountable for your life, the good and the bad, then it's a different thing. Life is a different thing. And when you realize that the law of attraction ain't playing favorites, you're like, all right, so now I can look at it logically and go, all right, cool. So you're not playing favorites and I got to be accountable. So, all right, well, I have to do the work. So what we had to do is realize that on a co-creative front, we created that situation. His energy created it. My energy created it. We created that situation. Does that mean that he wanted to go to prison to be wrongly accused? Does that mean that I wanted him to? No. It means that we're walking around with sloppy energy. We're walking around not knowing what the hell we want. And then, or if we do, we're so contradicted in it. We're so, back and forth about it that, you end up in these things where, that could have ended a lot of different ways for him, but that's how that ended for him. Or it's not how it ended, that's how it happened for him. So now it's like, well, how do you look at it? And the position that he and I have both taken from day one is we are going to use this as a growing experience. And I know it sounds like, come on, Rebecca, like, listen, these people took I just don't feel like that. I feel like, yeah, they did. They did, but they have to make peace with that. What I allow continuing forward is so in other words, I feel like if we had started out and went through that as victims, or made our son be a victim to it, oh man, that would have been creating just another life that would have felt very stifled. So instead, we decided to make it a learning experience, not just for us, but for our son, to make it an experience. Like we have, and what's funny is that we have a better relationship than I think some people who are living under the same roof have. We've been together in each other's lives since I was 17, he was 15. We're each other's first love. He probably has a better relationship with our son than a lot of people do with their parents, because we are forced to talk. So we're forced to grow. So this has really been a time of, for me, growing. So it's really perspective and how you want to shape a story. And you get to pick, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Do you want to be right and go after the tech and say, yeah, we're going to go after them when we have what we need, but not because we need them to be wrong, but because we want what we want. If you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a distinction there.
Yeah. Well, I think you're handling it great. If that works for you and your family, that's awesome. And that's what it's all about, surviving life's ups and downs. So I applaud
you. Well, because you can't, nobody can exert into your experience. If you're going to go with the law of attraction, nobody can exert something in your experience that you're not in vibrational range of. Now, that doesn't mean that you're asking for it. Then that's the distinction. People go, what do you mean? Did I ask for this to happen? Did I ask for that? No. But if you have sloppy energy, anything can come. And I think the more that we're able to claim our own personal power in that, the more beneficial it is to everybody.
And quickly define sloppy energy for me.
Sloppy energy is life is living you. Whatever's in front of you is what you're focusing on. You're not, taking the time to really set up your energy day in and day out. You're not taking time to level up your energy day in and day out. You could be, like, people want the money, and the money is great, but we have celebrities and rich people committing suicide all the time because money is not where it's at, right?
Thank you.
So it's not, right? So it's an energy thing. You got to do the work inside, and then the sloppy energy. You know what I'm saying? You got to be willing to be very honest. Let go of the stories that aren't helping you, right or wrong. Let go of the stories that aren't helping you and start creating in a different way.
Awesome. Yep. So, do you feel like you are living a purpose-driven life?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm doing exactly what I've always wanted to do, which is talk to people about, law of attraction and how powerful they are. You know what I mean? 'Cause it's something that we don't use enough, and coming in this, like I came in this world covered head to toe with rashes, like red, bright, but rashes all the way to high school. And I felt more powerless than I can express to you because, it was something that I couldn't change. I couldn't change the way things looked. I couldn't change the way, if you pulled up my sleeve, what you were going to see on my arm. I couldn't change if I had rashes on my neck or if I had it on my legs. You know what I mean? I just couldn't change it. And so I think that is part of what just fuels me to be just so passionate about teaching people. Like I didn't know it then, but teaching people in general, like you have the power over your life. You get to pick.
Absolutely. Well, Rebecca, it was amazing talking to you about law of attraction. But before I let you go, I have to ask you to share an oh hell no moment that you've experienced that has changed your perspective on something in life, or that you have learned from and always reference back to keep you in line, wherever you are in your life.
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Well, I'm probably going to just go back to, I'm going to tell you the moment that changed my life, or one of the moments that really changed my life was when I had my son. It changed me. And I had my aunt, husband went to prison. My aunt, she's always given me a hard time. You know what I'm saying? She never really thought a lot of me. And I saw her, son was maybe about 2. And she said, oh, wow, it looks like you're really getting your life together. We all thought you were going to be on welfare. And I was just like, oh, hell no. Like, what?
Right.
And yeah. And that moment has really, I should thank her. And I do in my head, because that moment has really fueled me to say, you know what? Like, what people think of you doesn't matter. What people think you're going to be doesn't matter. Like, you again get to pick it. I'm a broken record. You get to pick it. And the people who believe in you least, just show them. You can show them so much better than you can tell them.
Yeah, I like that oh hell no moment. So tell us where we can find out more about your course and where we can follow you on social media, just so we could stay connected.
Yeah, sure. So my website is www.Rebecca, REBECCA, another A in the middle, Hamilton, HAMILTON.com. So RebeccaAHamilton.com. And then I'm on Instagram, where we found each other, at Rebecca_Hamilton_333. That's my, my one that's for more inspiration. And then I'm also on there as Jax, JAX Homes and Lifestyle, for my real estate business. So those are all the places that you can hunt me down.
That is what's up, girl.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe and rate the show.